Okay, this is lesson 3.6, Add and Subtract Polynomials. So, by the end of the lesson, you should be able to add and subtract binomial and trinomial expressions. These are very uncomplicated expressions, and the rules are for the uncomplicated binomial and trinomial expressions. So, to add polynomials, you are going to drop the brackets and collect like terms. It's a very simple rule. So it says simplify by adding the following monomials. If you've got 5x plus 2x, 7x. Very easy. If you've got something more complicated than that, it might be in brackets. So it's this binomial plus this binomial. So because it's plus in between these two binomials, we simply drop the brackets and gather up our like terms. So this would be 3x plus 4x, which is 7x, and minus 9 plus 5, which is minus 4. We make sure that we don't have any like terms in our final answer, because then it could be simplified further, and indeed these are not like terms. Okay. This is three terms, so this is called a trinomial plus another trinomial, and again we're allowed, because it's a plus in between the two trinomials, just to drop the brackets. When I drop the bracket here, I have a sign, it's a plus, but then these are negative here, right? And now I gather up my like terms. It's getting a little more complicated. You might want to group them. You don't have to, but I might rearrange them so that I've got my like terms together. So now I've grouped them, and I can say x squared plus 3x squared. There's an invisible 1 there, remember, so this is 4x squared. 2 minus 4 is minus 2x, and 5 minus 2 is positive 3. You should have a sign in between each of your terms, okay? All right. You guys go ahead and try this one. Pause the video and then check in and see if you got it right. Okay, there you go. Hopefully you got that one right. All right, so now we're going to get a little more complicated. And so to subtract two polynomial expressions, you want to drop the second brackets. In other words, drop the ones that are beside the minus and change the sign of everything inside the brackets. So before we do that, I just want to explain to you, then collect like terms, sorry. Let's fill in that. So what we're doing is we're taking this trinomial and we're subtracting this trinomial from this one. So really, we are, if we want to do that, we need to drop these brackets, and then this needs a sign in front of it. Technically right now, this is positive 3x squared. When we drop the brackets, then it says to change the sign of everything inside the brackets. So now this would become minus 3x squared. This would become minus 5x, and this would become plus 3. Okay, you change the sign. So if there's no sign there, the implication is that it's positive. Okay, so this is 2x squared plus 4x plus 1 minus 3x squared minus 5x and plus 3. I can gather up my like terms. So this is 2. I don't have much room, so I'll just do it in my head. So 2 minus 3 is minus 1, but I'm not writing the 1. So that's minus x squared. And then 4x minus 5x is minus x, and 1 plus 3 is 4. All right, so that's your final answer. You pause the video now and try the next one, please. So we're going to drop the first brackets without changing any signs, but then when we drop the brackets here, the sign in front of this is positive and then it becomes negative when we drop the brackets. This is going to be minus 9x squared minus x minus 4. 6x squared minus 9x squared. Remember, you keep the variable the same and you just operate on the numbers. So this is minus 3x squared. The next one would be just all the x's, and this one's all by itself. There isn't another x here, so we would just write minus x, and then minus 1 minus 4 is minus 5. Typically with these polynomials, we express them in what we call descending order of power. So highest exponent to lowest exponent to constant. Okay, so I would expect you to do the same thing too. All right, let's see what's next. It says simplify and then evaluate for x equals minus 4. So I'll simplify first. I notice that there's a plus in between these two, so all I'm going to do is drop both sets of brackets. And I'm going to gather up my like terms. So 4 minus 6 is minus 2x squared, and 1 plus 5 is 6. I don't have any x's in this case. Now I'm going to evaluate for x equals 4, so I'm going to say when negative 4, I'm going to get, this is going to equal minus 2 times negative 4 squared plus 6. Bad math tells me I have to do this first, so negative 4 times negative 4 is 16. 16 times minus 2 is minus 32 plus 6, and then my final answer would be minus 26. This one, I notice there's a subtraction, so I'm dropping the first set, no problem. But when I drop the second set, I'm going to change that 9x to a minus 9x and the minus 7 to a plus. 6x minus 9x is minus 3x. 2 plus 7 is 9. And when x equals negative 4, I would get negative 3. Sorry, it would equal negative 3. I should have my equal signs. I'm bad for that. I'm sorry. This should be negative 3 times negative 4 plus 9. Negative 3 times negative 4 is 12 plus 9. And that is equal to 21. All right, a rectangle has length 4x plus 1 and width x plus 2. I know it's strange that we're using expressions for length and width instead of just numbers, but we can do that. So now we're going to write a simplified expression for the perimeter of the rectangle. Well, we know the formula for perimeter, and I expect you to know this because this is prior knowledge from grade 7 and 8. So the perimeter of a rectangle is P equals 2L plus 2W. I'm going to ask you to write that down. And the perimeter then is going to be 2 times the length, which is, you know what? I'm not going to use that formula. Sorry, I'm going back on that because you haven't learned distributive law yet. Well, you probably know it already, but I'm going to assume that you don't know it because we're going to learn that, I think, tomorrow. So let's go with this formula. Perimeter is length plus width plus width. So perimeter is going to equal 4x plus 1 plus 4x plus 1 plus x plus 2 plus x plus 2. When we gather up all our like terms, 4x plus 4x plus x, that's 10x. 4 plus 4 plus 1 plus 1 is 10. Our numbers, 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 2 is 4, plus another 2 is 6. So the perimeter has a simplified expression of 10x plus 6. What is the perimeter when x equals 5? Well, I'm just going to substitute in x equals 5 and evaluate p. So this is going to be 50 plus 6, and this would be 56. And I don't know what the units are because it didn't give me units here, so I'm just going to say units. Okay, lots of examples today. Let's do one more. 3 artists contribute to a coffee table book. They each chose to be paid a different way. So Aisha took a fixed rate of $1,000 plus she took a royalty, which means she's getting paid per book of $2 per book that she sells. George decided to take a bigger royalty, so $5 per book that he sells. And Joanna decided to take just a flat fee of $4,000. Maybe she didn't think the books were going to sell too well, so she took her money and ran. So if we want to write an expression for the total earnings for each artist, well, for Aisha, the expression would be 2n plus 1,000, where n represents the total number of books sold. For George, it would be 5n, and for Joanna, the expression would be just 4,000. So write a simplified expression for the total amount paid to the 3 artists. So the total, I'll just write total. That's going to equal the sum of these 3 expressions. So 2n plus 5n is 7n, and 1,000 plus 4,000 is 5,000. So that's the simplified expression for the total amount paid to all 3 of them. I think that's the end, just double checking, but no, it's not. Wait a second, yes it is. That's an old example. Okay, so we are done for the day. Thank you.